All right, here we are. Here we are in Bethel, downtown Bethel, famous pizza.
PT Barnum Square.
I feel like every time we come here, it's raining. Anytime we're out of the studio, it's raining, but we're gonna make the best of it. We got a pizza review, someone we had on for our podcast, local hero, famous pizza, Perry. We're coming in, we're gonna test you out. You ready? Let's do this.
Let's do our review.
We are literally risking our lives here. Thunderstorm, I haven't seen any lightning, but it could be the last time you see us, but it's well worth it because we're gonna sit here and we're gonna do a pizza review. Now, I'm not gonna let them off the hook. I wanna see the pizza box after. I think there's something to be said for the pizza box and the presentation, and I wanna see it after. And we're gonna go for a nice walk around to see what we're working with here, but thank you very much for having us here for a
Thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, it's been a while, but a lot has happened since then. We're in the new spot now and really happy with it. Want to share it with as many people as possible. So getting some exposure on the BOA life will help us become world famous.
There you go.
Hopefully soon enough.
This is one of the hottest spots in town. I mean, I know sometimes I order pizza, it's like an hour wait sometimes. That's how busy you are. After you're on our podcast, it's going to be probably an hour and 20-second wait. That's
all right, hey, let's do it.
All right, so here we are. We're going to do the review. I'm going to start off. We got a bonus pizza here. This is not just one. This is two. The first one, everybody knows the rules. There's one bite. Everybody knows the rules. You got good. Look at this. Look at this. You got good floppage.
Undercarriage. Got to use the right terminology, you know.
Listen, I'm not an expert, you know, but I am an expert when it comes to eating.
Not a lot of flop. You got your, New York slice.
I got a little flop coming. I think I'm holding up too long, but yeah, undercarriage looks good. Can't wait to dig in.
I'm not going to coach you. You guys tell me, and then I'll give you my expert opinion.
Look.
Biased, somewhat.
Everybody knows the rules. One bite.
Ah, you see? He went for the second one in the crust. That's Portnoy move right there.
Go full.
What about the side? I thought he typically takes it from the side.
Nah, you want the first right in the right front and center, and then the second one, you got to get that crust. You got to get that bite.
Then I got to be honest. I grew up in town. I grew up on this pizza. I remember elementary school eating this pizza, hot lunch, $1 a slice. This was $1 a slice. I don't need to tell you about inflation. This is much more now. We don't even need to go there. Well, this is a 10. I know it's a rookie score.
I didn't even slide him some cash. It's all right.
But I grew up on this pizza. What am I going to tell you?
But you know what, Steve? I do got to tell you that the pizza you grew up on is different. This is it's basically a new product. When we moved to the new store, we kept the same ingredients, same recipe, but we changed how we stretch it. There's a different demographic in town, and it's more geared towards New York style pizza. So before, when we cooked in a pan, we no longer do that now. And what that does is it gives us a really crisp crust throughout. Before it was pan pizza that was uniform throughout. Now it's thinner in the middle, thicker on the edge, and it's just better. I mean, we are going to please everyone, and we get that. Some of our regulars said that they really longed for the other product, which this is our bonus review, is a Sicilian pizza right here.
Oh boy.
This is a pan pizza. It is thicker by any means, but it's still light and airy, and it's awesome.
Before we go on to the next one, what do you got? Scale 1 to 10. I gave it a 10.
All right, so I grew up on the border of New York, still in Connecticut, but I can say I'm used to a New York style pizza. Now, I knew nothing of Bethel. Okay, I was New Fairfield, Danbury, came to Bethel maybe as a teenager, had Perry's famous, would you say it's like a deep dish type pizza at the old place?
The first one, yeah. It's a typical pan pizza. Everyone called it Greek pizza, which, I didn't even really like calling it that. I just tell people, look, try it, you'll like it. And for 40 years now, right? So we had a good run. It was good, but it didn't mean that we could do it better. And that's all we were trying to do with this product now and for the future.
So yeah, I could go with a bunch of different types of pizzas. I can't wait to try this Sicilian. I love New York style. I love Greek pizza. I love deep dish. I love it all. But I might need one more bite just for for a final tally.
You got a piece of the crust right there.
Undercarriage, flop. I'm gonna go 9-1.
9-1.
All right. That's
not
a
a
good
rookie.
score.
That's
That's not a rookie score.
That's not a rookie score. That's a good score. That's a great score.
And I'm not, look, obviously I'm biased, but I eat my pizza every day. And I mean copious amounts, like minimum 2 slices, up to 4 slices a day. And I'm on a 25-year stretch. Luckily, I'm on my feet all day, 14 hours, and it keeps me from not getting
I gotta
What's the
say,
record? What's the record? How many slices have you ever had in a day?
Probably 6. Yeah, I can almost finish off a large pie, even at 48 years. And but this thing right here,
All right, bonus.
All right, the bonus.
I can have 3 of these,
The bonus.
and
This is.
I love the oregano.
I'm
A
not
lot of
even
people
sure
don't
how to
like
eat
oregano
this.
on their pizza, but
Where
you
do
know
you
what?
go here?
I like the kick.
it's a little messy. So traditionally, a Sicilian has a cheese on top. We do an upside down version of it. So cheese below, sauce on top. It keeps the crust light and airy. And then you got that crust that, if you got that thing on the edge, you got that burnt cheese, kind of like a Detroit style, but not really. But it's awesome. It's my new favorite thing in the world, quite honestly.
Look, everybody knows the rules. Just one bite.
Just 3 bites. I don't know the rules.
One bite. I mean, I gotta say, it's fantastic. Absolutely.
I might like this better than the traditional. I've always been a Sicilian fan. Some people mess it up a little bit, but when it's on point, it's on point. And this, Perry, I have to say, from a 9-1, straight to a 10.
Oh.
Straight to a 10.
Stealing my thunder.
No rookie score whatsoever. I've eaten a
Well,
lot of
if you
pizza
went
in my day.
10 on the other one, you can always go higher than 10, but I'm not going to influence it.
Listen.
I can take whatever you guys
You can't
dish
go
out.
higher than it. It's like someone says they're going to give 110%. You can't. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't think I can. You can only give 100%. I can't give more than what I got. This is like dinner, and this is like dessert. It's a 10. It's another rookie score. It's my hometown pizza place. What can I tell you? I love it.
Thanks, guys. We're really happy with it. And you know what? We just want people to come in and try it out. And, so far we've had overwhelmingly positive feedback. And we just try to do the best we can. That's it. I tell people, I've never had someone come in, whether it was 20 years ago or today or tomorrow, and tell me it wasn't good. Like, they could tell me, I prefer New Haven on beets, coal-fired, which is a total different animal, and I like that too. Like, that's the beauty about pizza. There's so many different kinds for people to like. You can prefer one. It's like music. It's like women. It's like anything, It's like you have your preference, but, at the end of the day, it's good, and people understand what's good and what's not. So we're just trying to do the best we can here.
I feel like we can make an argument that Connecticut's like the pizza capital of the world.
Oh, without a doubt.
And Bethel is no slouch. We got a lot of pizza places, and no better pizza than Famous, ladies and gentlemen.
This is where it's at.
I appreciate the hat. The
Yeah,
hats.
of course.
We brought you a hat.
Nice.
We're moving up in the world. We have some merch.
Finally got some merch.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Not
Digging
for
in the
sale
funds.
yet. So this is like special. You can't even buy this in stores. You're welcome.
I'm honored. Thank you.
And I wish I could eat pizza and get away and look like you look.
It's catching up with me. I gotta throw a salad in there once in a while, even things out. Moderation. It's all about moderation. That's what I tell people. Pizza gets a negative thing, but I'll tell you what, a plain pizza, it's all that buffalo chicken, which I know some people love, or dipping it in the blue cheese. That's where you get yourself in trouble. But I am a pizza purist. If I go crazy, it'll be pepperoni and mushroom, but it's just cheese for me. There's nothing. The crust for me is where it all starts. Obviously, sauce and cheese is very important, but we're really happy with it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you had to have one more thing to eat for the rest of your life, pizza would be it. Come on down to Famous. PT Barnum Square, Bethel, Connecticut.
Right. They're not only good for the community and all the money they give and fundraising, they also make a good product. And come out here and enjoy it. Support local community. Appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you.
Living and breathing La Vida Boa. Welcome to the Boa Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen DeMora, alongside host Nick Colhay. We're here to have a conversation and talk about the perfect ingredients to making a good pizza pie, and also to a good life.
What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host, Nick Colhay. This is the Boa Life Podcast, episode number 22. You ready to do this, Steve?
Let's go. So I don't think I really need to introduce this gentleman because, first of all, I don't really want to try to even attempt to say his last name, but also because he's famous. I mean, Perry is famous, so there's really no reason to introduce someone that's famous. He is famous.
If I had $1 for every time I've heard that.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should expect it, right? After so many years. But yes, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, especially in these new digs we got here. So thanks for having me. And look forward to it. I'm a big fan of the show. First time, long time.
There you go.
Yeah, we're still new at this, so glad to hear people are listening. If you guys haven't recognized already, if you're watching us and not just listening, you could see that we're in a nice, cozy, new place. What are you thinking so far, Steve?
I love it. I love the other place we were in as well, but I do want to share with the viewers the irony of where I am right now. So this is where I began on my own as an attorney going solo. I was literally sitting right here. This was where my desk was. So it's kind of eerie, kind of strange, kind of full circle that I'm here. And it's like I'm home again. So I'm feeling great. Feeling a good vibe today, and so happy to have you on today. As a matter of fact, I'm so happy to have you on. I wore my Dallas Cowboy jersey because I know this gentleman here is a diehard Eagles fan, and I thought that this would definitely put you in the right mood.
Yeah, and I'm really regretting not wearing that Eagles jersey. I was ready to do it, and I'm like, you know what? I just, it might be a little unprofessional. I think Nick would look at me like, who is this guy that we invited?
I would have been
let's not air this show.
I would have been kind of pissed that you guys didn't call me and say, wear my fan jersey, because we could have been the NFC East right here.
NFC least.
Well, true.
But yeah, if we can pan over to that side, they have the nice green light over there. I would much prefer that over purple
That's true.
background.
But
it's
set
all
it
right.
up a little
I'll let it
better.
slide.
As we evolve, we'll start to acclimate the guest to the colors that they like the best. That'll be great.
I'm pretty sure Justin could change these with a flick of a button. Saw some colors flying before.
Well, I mean, not that, I'm a lifelong resident of Bethel, and the famous name obviously is a brand that everyone in town knows. I'm sure even outside of the greater area. Great pizza, great family, and super happy to have you on. I was actually talking to you before we went on live that just the other day at basketball, my son comes out, and sure enough, number 3 famous jersey. You guys are all around. Thank you so much for your support, community support, and thank you for supporting us and being here today. I really appreciate it. I've been wanting to have you on even before you told me you were a listener, and now we know who the other person is that listens besides our wives is right here.
No, the stars aligned to make this happen, because honestly, with things are so busy these days for me, and when you asked me, he's like, oh, Tuesday night, and I'm like, dude, this Tuesday has got to happen, because with this new store opening, I'm not going to be available for the next year, even to my wife and kids. But it all worked out because last night, I told you I was up till 2 a.m. getting this place ready. And I'm like, what am I thinking coming into a podcast, during this? But, in actuality, I think I realized that I needed that little break, just that mental break. And, I love chopping it up. This for me is, good time and a sort of way to, decompress, shall we say. So it all worked out, and it's great. We're sitting here, brought some podcast wine, in the famous pizza glasses. So salud.
Salud.
Thank you. And thanks again for, community involvement has always been a huge thing for us ever since the beginning. We sponsor all the kids' teams. Anyone who comes in, we give them a gift card. It's just, what we do, because, not only do we operate a business in our hometown. We live there. You know, I went to school there. I'm a product of the Bethel public school system. I'm proud to say that. My kids go there. I already have one that's finishing, one that's in college, one that's finishing, another one, you know, 3 daughters, you know, and then my brother, my sister, their families. Like, we're literally, like, Famous is like the hub, and we're literally a mile in each direction from my parents' house, which is right next door to the business. So, like, you want to talk about a very tight family. So the town's been great to us. Like, we've, you know, had really modest, humble beginnings, and, you know, we always remember where we came from, and, you know, make it a point to support, you know, our hometown, all the surrounding towns that have supported us over the years. I mean, it's just makes sense, right?
Yeah, we're always talking about community and reciprocation and trying to do better by the people around us, and you guys certainly have been doing that. It's something I can relate to, being in a Portuguese community, doing a lot of stuff, and having a father that has an accent. I mean, we were just talking about a lot of the similarities we have, and I know that you are a super hard worker, just like I am, and sometimes doing these things are necessary, right, to keep track of our mental capacity, because you could just get focused in on just working all the time. I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, for the viewers that may not know this, you were in a corner spot in your own building. Mm-hmm. You've decided for whatever reason to move to another area. I think it's coming out fantastic. I can't wait to finally get a pizza there and sit there and really enjoy the space. But from what I see, it looks awesome, but also looks completely different from what you have now. I mean, what precipitated the change, and you know, what can we expect coming from the new spot? Yeah, I mean, we're really excited. I'm super pumped. You know, I just like the little backstory for those that don't know us. My parents started the business in '82. We moved to Bethel basically with nothing. Like, you know, if they came through this little town driving by, they saw a place for sale, scrounged up enough money to give her a down payment and pay her every week. You know, the way I found out we were moving to Bethel was they sent me away to Greece, because I was the oldest of 3 siblings. And they said, why don't you go to Greece for the summer, go visit your grandparents? I'm like, all right, cool. 1984, LA Olympics. I come back, and I'm all excited to go back to school. We lived in Watertown at the time. We had a nice house. You know, my dad had a business. And on the drive back, I noticed that we weren't going the same way. And I'm like, shouldn't we take that highway, Route 8, I think, or whatever it was? And he's like, oh, yeah, about that, we aren't going to Watertown. We live in Bethel now. And I'm like, so, like, to this day, I had a whole life in Watertown. I never said bye to my friends. I never, like, you know, I to this day, they're probably like, what happened to that kid? Did he get kidnapped? Like, you know, all my friends on the streets. So
how old were you at that time?
So 84, 11 years old.
Okay.
So like, you know, you think about like parents that are like worried because they have to move somewhere because of job relocation. Meanwhile, my parents are like, I don't give a shit, you know, like, you know, we got to do what we got to do. So that was how it all started. And then just really, they didn't have a clue what they were doing. It was a bad business decision. And, you know, it brought us to where we were, and they made it work. Like, no matter what, it wasn't successful by any means in the beginning. It was a lot of mistakes, but they learned from them. And as my brothers and sisters and I got older, we helped, and slowly the business grew. Like, now we have, you know, tenants, you know, we own the building now, and they want to open businesses, and they have these dreams of going national, like, and they haven't even opened one yet. And it's like, dude, what are you thinking? Are you thinking that you're going to make money day one? Like, I literally tell them my parents did not make a dime for 3 years. They worked 100 hours a week, 7 hours a day, and didn't make a dime. They were robbing Peter to pay Paul, you know, just like, and then slowly we built it up. But people just see, you know, where we've been on the corner, and they're like, oh, these guys are killing it. They have no idea what went into it. It was like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So they laid the foundation. They did the hard work. Like, for me, you know, my dad was always big into not doing this type of work. Even though my junior year in high school, I was an average student. You know, I did well. I never did time for homework because I always worked in the shop. Couldn't play sports. I loved to play sports. I couldn't commit because my parents needed me. And I went to, so the story is my junior year, my dad said, all right, you're not going to college, then here's the keys to the shop. I'm going to Greece. Figure it out. and like I worked 110 hours a week. I made a boatload of money. It was great. I had a IROC Z Camaro. I thought I was the man. But I realized that I can't do this, you know. So my senior year in high school, I really committed myself to, you know, really doing my work. And I went on to Pace University, studied accounting, and did really well. I, you know, tried hard. I saw what struggle it was for my parents, even with the scholarship, to pay for tuition, and ended up working for a Wall Street investment firm as an internship, and I liked that, got exposure to that, and then instead of staying there, took a job with Ernst & Young. So I was an auditor for a couple years, and everything was great. I was on the partner track, and they're like, you know, if you do this, you know, you're going to be right, you can be me one day. And I'm looking at these guys, and yeah, I'm like, they're driving Porsches and they have a townhouse in Greenwich and all that. But it just, I did everything I could not to do accounting. Like, I hated accounting, even through college. I hated accounting. I'm like, why did you major in it? I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. But being from that immigrant family, you know, money is a big thing. And I probably got influenced to that extent. And everyone said, you know, accounting is always a good job, you know. But it wasn't my passion. And so one day I just woke up and decided, enough of this. I'm going to go back to my what my parents started, take it to the next level. And, you know, I thought it was going to be really easy, quite honestly. And it was a lot harder than I thought. So I wanted to take what I learned on the corporate side and try to apply it to a small town pizzeria, bring in technology, and whatnot. And it took a while. It took a while to build it up, took investment. Sorry, I'm just talking and talking. I feel like
That's what's great about it.
That's the beauty. We want to hear the story. That's what people want to listen to, the journey. And how was it old meeting new? I can imagine you coming in with all these innovative new ideas, and I can imagine your father maybe being more conservative and holding maybe on, or was he open to doing some of this stuff?
So it's funny. Everyone says that because my dad, you know, has a presence about him. But honestly, my dad's always been so supportive, and he's just like, do whatever you want. And like my mom, on the other hand, she was like, she's the one that's quiet, but she like, we literally had to push her out, because if you understand, like, you know, which I'm sure you understand, the immigrant mentality, it's like, if you're not working, you know, you're lazy. Like, what are you doing? There's always something that needs to get done. So when you try to build a business and grow it and bring employees into the mix, and all of a sudden, God forbid, they're standing for a second. This wasn't even when they had phones. Can you imagine, like, now? You know, she would rip their head off. You know, she's like, what is this guy doing? We're paying him, you know, whatever many dollars an hour it was, you know. And I'm like, Mom, he just like worked a 10-hour shift, you know, he's just breathing. It's okay, you know. So that was really tough. So we kind of had to push her out a little bit, just because we couldn't get the business to where we needed it to be. And then we introduced computers, and then they're like, all right, well, now we got to go. So, you know, you're used to just like answering the phone, like my dad, you know, talk about, you know, the immigrant experience, shall we say. For many years, people, our old regular customers, thought the name of our business was Yellow, like the color yellow, famous pizza. Because my dad, when he answered the phone, instead of saying hello, he'd say yellow, yellow, famous pizza, hello, famous pizza. So yeah, it's a funny story.
That is great. I was like, can you? I have to ask this only because I always try to mimic my dad's accent. Obviously, my dad, like you, is not born here. It was born in Portugal, and I do a terrible job of trying to mimic that. Are you able to do it at all, or no? Outside of the yellow famous pizza?
I can nail it down in Greek with cuss words. Like, he's got his own like vocabulary that, you know, fortunately, there's probably no Greek people listening to this, but he's got some very unique sayings. But as far as American, his biggest thing is like, and even we were talking about this today with someone, you know, I went to school in kindergarten not knowing a word of English. You know, we spoke Greek at home. And so at the time, my main way of learning English was watching TV. And Happy Days was on. That was my show. And when we moved to Watertown, the kids came out to play. I was riding my bike. I didn't know a word of English. They're like, what's your name? And I'm like, Fonzie. Hey.
Oh, my God.
So, like, for a while, I had that name because that was, like, you know, my idol, you know, Arthur Fonzarelli. So yeah, that was pretty funny. But I spent I remember to this day, kindergarten, I spent no recess outside because I had to learn how to spell my name. Try spelling Periklis Anastasakis, so yeah, Perry was a little easier. I went with that.
I'm glad you shortened it for our sake as well.
Yeah.
What was it about pizza? Because you think of Greek food, I mean, I'm sure you can name 100 different things. When they bought the business back then, was it already a pizza shop?
Yeah, so it was actually Capri Pizza, which there's another Capri Pizza in Stony Hill.
Yeah.
So at that time, different owners, but yeah, it was a pizzeria. But if you saw this place, I remember it was just lined with video games. It was like just a dive. Like it was just, you could tell it was failing, and that's why they got a good deal on it. So they just needed an opportunity, and pizza was it. Whether my mom had an experience, she had family in Stamford. They had Atlantic Street Pizza, so she worked there growing up. Her uncle had the business, and he brought her whole family over. She came legally through Ellis Island. My father, on the other hand, he was Merchant Marines, and he jumped ship. And I think they sent him back a couple times, but he was determined to pursue his American dream. They married my mom, so
persistence and consistency. Good. I like that.
Yeah.
So when did you change the name right away?
Right away, we went with Famous Pizza, and everyone asked us, what makes your pizza so famous? It's really, so there was a cousin of hers in South Norwalk. To this day, that's still existing. We're not related, but we are related in that sense. So he just liked the name, and we're not very original people, the Greeks, So, I don't think at that time there were like trademark clauses and patents or whatever. So they're just like, well, works for him, works for me. And there's another famous in Bridgeport, totally unrelated. My cousins have a famous pizza in Shingatig Island, Virginia. So, maybe we save on T-shirts or buying in bulk. I don't know. But
it's certainly worked for you guys. That's
it works. Sure. It works. It's not. I mean, not the name that matters. It's the quality.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's what you put out, your product, obviously, and your service. So we're really proud of that. We feel that the way we were brought up, like you treat people like, whether it's your business or your home, you treat them the same way. So when they came in the door, like everyone says, oh, your mom was so sweet. She's smiling. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she'd be sitting in the corner and she didn't know a word of English. She'd be making boxes or whatever. And for a lady that didn't know a word of English, she had so many friends. Like people would just come up to her and talk to her, and she just, with their eyes, she had these like blue eyes, that just like green eyes. But she would just make you feel like she was communicating with you, but she didn't even know a word of English. She would just nod her head. And so we always had that approach, obviously, as you grow, you're not as tight, but we feel like we really take the time to get to know our customers as much as we can. I mean, that's how Steve and I met each other, Steve being a legend in Bethel, famous himself on the soccer field.
I like that.
I've heard stories, but I didn't really get to know him until over the years. I probably saw him wearing a Dallas shirt. I'm like,
who's this guy?
Put his order last. He can wait. So,
I feel like the European ethos is, work hard, and you work hard enough, good things will happen. And I can relate. Obviously, when my family came to this country, my grandmother had a business, and Europeans, a service business, treat people with respect, like their family, give them good quality food, and they were very successful in the Belvedere in downtown Danbury. My aunts and uncles have been involved in bar and restaurant business, and I think that the recipe for a successful business is working hard, caring about your customer. And I mean, you guys do that, excessively and impressively. And I think that's why you guys have been so successful in town and have been able to really provide a good service to the community and to yourselves. And I'm always so in awe of how you have your name everywhere. It's like these people must have infinite money.
What?
It's like my kid plays baseball, he's got a famous hat on. He plays basketball, he's got a famous shirt. I'm so impressed by that, and that's something where I was talking to my wife the other day. It's like I need to get more involved in the community and do more stuff like that, because it really, the more you give, the more you get back. Right. I love your story. I love who you are. I love your family. And that's why I was so happy that you were going to come on and share this story, because I think it's important for people to be able to, know you a little better, just like I wanted to know you a little better, because you're right. A lot of the times it's quick, short conversations, but I mean, you kind of know right away that you're going to have a good rapport with someone. And I think ultimately you and I probably knew we had a lot in common, and that's why it was so easy to talk to you. I keep looking at this. You came bearing gifts. You came.
Yes, I did.
I feel like we should have given more outside of our new beautiful studio. What exactly is this over here with the Dallas? Oh, the Dallas.
Yeah. Dallas sucks beer. Beer
Probably
made
tastes
for the
delicious.
fans. So I got this for Steve. It's like that, glass of wine, the bottle of wine you have for a special occasion. So, I've been holding on to this beer for like 5 years. I wouldn't dare let you drink it, but I just thought this was like the perfect time.
That is funny. You really like someone when you could talk trash about their team and they're fine with it. Because I'll come in and be like, "Oh, what happened to your Eagles the other day?"
we all suck. So at the end of the day.
We haven't been very good lately either, but it's nice that having sports. You and I and I know Nick's a big sports guy and into athletics. It's nice to have that. You have your family, you have your work, but it's nice to have something that you're into. Are you big into doing as much as you can with sports to just to get away from work every once in a while? I mean,
you definitely need that release. And for me, that football season, my wife and kids know it's like Eagles are on, just leave me alone. Don't, and I've tried to bring them into it. My wife wants no part of it. My daughters, they're hot and cold. I've taken them to games and we've all gone as a family, but I turn into a different person, I'll be honest, when it comes to not like some Eagle fans. Like Eagle fans in general have a bad rep. I think now we're a kinder, gentler, softer fan base after the Super Bowl. That was an experience. I actually hopped on a plane that morning. I left my house at 2 a.m, Super Bowl Sunday, LaGuardia, with the ticket in my hand, hopped on a plane to Minneapolis with the clothes on my back and went to the Super Bowl. And as I'm flying there, the guy next to me was a Patriots fan, also did the same thing. And we ended up hanging out. And, obviously, we made a bet with each other. We would meet up, and whoever won would buy the other guy drinks. So that was an expensive night for me, but it was worth it. It was an experience. I always told my wife, the Eagles ever go to the Super Bowl, no expense will be spared. I'm going. I had a little stash fund that she didn't know about. But actually, the whole saga started weeks before, because all throughout the playoffs, I went to all those games. And with my buddy, and he was supposed to come to me a Super Bowl. It didn't work out. But yeah, that was quite a year. That was a memory I'll never forget.
That when I was going to the pizza place talking to you about doing that.
I had my dog mask. It was like customers were bringing me in T-shirts and like rooting for me. It was crazy. It was like as if like I'm a player or something. But it's like they just know like the Eagles are something that like I'm really passionate about. And and it's not even like I never played football, so like I really got into it in college, and then following it. But it's like you almost need that one thing that you're really passionate about. For some people, it might be a different sport, going to the gym or something like that. So for me, that was it. And it's funny how it could just change your whole mindset on like a bad loss, like losing to the Giants week before. Oh my God, they're talking about like them winning the division, and they go and lose to the Giants, but. It's great, and for me, it's also a way to connect with my customers. So, like, once I found out Steve was a Dallas Cowboy fan, you can jib and jab, and it's like I make a point to try to get to know something about my customers, and football is a really easy, they wear a hat, be like, hey, how about the Chiefs, great win, I'm rooting for you. So that's always been a really easy way for me. But I just like people. Like, as much as people think you're in the pizza business, we're not. We're in the people business, it's about the connections. Like, yes, we do put out good food. Yes, we give you great service. But at the end of the day, I like to think that people also like to know they're not only supporting a person that supports the community and all that, but you're supporting my family. Not only my family, my brother-in-law's family, my mother and father. Like, we are the true definition of a family business. So, it just makes sense to give back to your community, like you said. And it didn't even start with the intention that, well, if you give back, they're going to give back tenfold, that story. It's just giving back. It's the right thing to do. And if you're passionate about something and you care, the business will follow. But that wasn't the intention. It just was a byproduct of it.
Right. You guys are obviously doing it for the right reasons because it's effective. When you're not doing it for the right reasons, I feel like it usually doesn't work out. But yeah, you're definitely entrenched in our community. I mean, to the point where we know when you're going to go on vacation, right?
4th of July.
We know what day you're not open. Outside of today, I mean, I got to confess, my wife came home. Typically Tuesdays, Nick, is pizza night, and it's usually, acquired at Famous Pizza. But today it wasn't. I don't know where it was, but I know I was deprived of Famous Pizza twice today, right? I got home, I didn't have it. And then we were potentially going to do a little pizza review, but we're going to hold that for hopefully another day.
Well, you're always complaining about your weight on the podcast, so I'm just doing you a favor, buddy.
This guy knows you
We
better.
brought you in to confront you.
I told you I'm a listener,
That's right. Steve's always saying, he could be doing better with his weight.
But Perry, let's be honest let's be honest. What is getting ordered at your place on Tuesdays that I'm probably eating?
I gotta admit, Steve is devoted salad aficionado.
Thank you very much.
What kind of salad guy is he?
All right, well, see, that was the follow-up question. Like buffalo
Well, we gotta get down to the
chicken with some extra
details
blue
matter.
cheese, chef salad with some ranch dressing, but it's like 99.9% fat-free.
Oh man, you had to go and ask what kind of salad I get. It's not the healthiest.
Before the salads, Steve was like, his middle name was Calzone. He was a big fan of the calzones.
I
for
love
a while.
calzones.
At the soccer field, he would always bring up calzones. I never realized that. I'm like, does he eat a lot of calzones? I'm like, all right, well, that's his
Well,
thing.
I could eat more when I was active, and now I still eat what I ate, except I don't exercise as much. I would get like the buffalo wings before I would have the calzone or the meat lovers pizza. Listen, you had a picture up there that said, what was it? The meat lovers pizza. I have
Pizza you can't refuse. The Godfather, yeah.
So it's just, it was the marketing that got to me, really.
It's all about moderation. Like my brother-in-law and I, we're about the same age, and Tony, God bless him, he's my right-hand man. Shout out to Tony. We had a run, so like I took over in '97, so now I'm about 25 years in. Not so much the last 5 years, but the first 20 years, we literally each ate at least a half a large pizza every day for 20 years.
On purpose?
No, just like you
guys
have
are
a
like
sliced
the
pie right there.
On steroids.
It's not. It's just a cheese pizza. It's all that other stuff that really gives pizza the bad rap. But if you think about what is a plain cheese pizza or like a veggie or whatever, but that's my jam. It's just like I'll sit there throughout the day from like. I come in at 11, I come in at 10:30, but our first pie is done at 11. I'll grab a slice of that first pie. I'll have another one at 12:30. I'll have another one at 1:30, another one at 3:30, and then you get busy and you don't eat again. But like, we just did it. It was our thing. And it worked. And then, you hit your 40s and your metabolism, stop playing sports. So that didn't help either. But yeah, it's all about moderation. Pizza
I
gets a
hate
bad
guys
rap.
that can eat pizza all day long and not gain any weight.
Well, my thing is sweets. Like sweets for me. Like if Steve Arano, if we change places, you wouldn't be able to fit me through the door. Like that's my real, like demon, sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't stop.
Pizzas like that, you really can't compare anything else to pizza. You think about it. It's like if you can name one food you could have for the rest of your life. I mean, you're going to go for a steak, you're going to go for a taco, unfortunately, pizza's right there. There's no one I know that hates pizza or doesn't care for pizza, or at least in the top 3.
And the great thing about pizza is there's so many different styles of pizza too that, whether some people will come to us and be like, okay, it's good, but I prefer, coal fired. Like, it's apples to oranges. So it hits such a different spectrum, how it's cooked and all that. And this is something that we're kind of exploring now with the new place. We're going to tweak some things and, all for the better. Sometimes people get freaked out. Like, what do you mean you're changing something? You're like trying to save some money and, and it's actually usually the other way around. Like we have evolved over the years for different reasons. And the one thing we've always had in mind is how to improve. I feel I'm a big believer in that change is a necessary thing and change is good, So we're going to continue that. And, we have a lot of things we have planned with the new spot. We've been testing all along. It's very, thought out process, and not just something who's just like, oh, let's try this. No, it's like we test and test and test, and we're really excited to roll that out in the new place. But like you said, I'll eat pizza on Sunday on my day off. We'll be like in New York or somewhere. I'll grab a slice. My wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, let's try it out. Like,
yeah, you got to know your product.
exactly.
I love the fact that you're always, trying to improve and you're looking ahead. And you're right. People hate change. Think about it. It's uncomfortable. Something we talk about a lot on the show, but it's necessary. And people have to get over that hump. And then you're right. You'll be better off for it.
And then you've got to balance in some things that traditionally have kept you successful, right? I imagine that there's maybe a war between, what you want to keep that's worked and then to evolve and change a little. It's kind of a dance, I would think, at times. How did the pandemic shift your thinking in your business, or did it at all?
So yeah, the pandemic was a real interesting time. We always had the idea of, because, for those of you that aren't familiar with our current setup, we do a very brisk delivery business, and which is great. And then we do carry out, which we've always done. Delivery is something that we added probably about 15 years ago. It's been steadily growing. But we also have expanded our dine-in business. So originally we were 50 seats. Now we're up to 150 seats. So it's really, people are like, well, all right, so what's the big deal? A lot of places deliver, a lot of places don't have 150 seats and deliver. So it's almost like having 3 different restaurants. So that was a real challenge, especially on the weekends when phones ringing off the hook, people are picking up, and then you have to expedite all this food, prioritize, because people who are sitting there want it quicker. People at home, they're less demanding. So we always thought that what if we didn't have such a big dining room? It would be so much easier to handle, because at the end of the day, we don't want people, no one wants people waiting 2 hours for a pizza. It's just, it's crazy. And they do.
Right.
So we thought about it, and then the pandemic hit. You always think, but everything, you're so, like you said, you're comfortable in your zone. You're like, well, we already built this place out. It'd be stupid to, just walk away from it. And then we didn't let anyone in our store for a year, literally, with the pandemic. We were really, I was big on protecting my parents first and foremost. The money, the business, everyone makes decisions on numbers, but at the end of the day, it's not worth it. My parents literally live next door. They're always in and out. They don't work, but, my dad, he'll do the sodas. I just like to keep him busy. He likes to be a part of the business. He'll come in the morning, make coffee for the guys. He'd be the last one to leave at night. So that was a no-brainer for me with the pandemic, for their safety. So even before they did mandates and stuff like that, we literally did not let anyone in the doors. And it was a quick pivot. It was like, all right, let's do this. Let's change the phone messages. Luckily, we had online ordering already in place.
We had lane numbers, and you guys were spot on.
Yeah, curbside parking, even though some of my neighbors didn't like that. They thought that was threatening to their business. But whatever. It was such a big hit. I mean, we literally took up, the whole, people were picking up because no one knew what they wanted to do. And pizza was something that they thought they were comfortable with how we were doing things. And we were ahead of the curve. And, we had our best, the pandemic, I hate to say it, but it was gangbusters. It was really an eye-opening experience for us. And then when we got to reflect on it, we look back and we're like, you know what? This is something that we should really look into for the future. Maybe lessen the load of the dining room and just focus on takeout and delivery. And that's what we did. All I did is everyone's like, oh, that's so smart. This and that. I'm like, dude, I just followed what franchises that have R&D budgets did. You see Starbucks are shrinking their stores. You see all these chains doing that. So you stay up to date on the stuff and you're like, all right, let's do it. So we used all that time to build this new place. And this week, we hope to be done with our inspections and open on Monday. So it'll be 20 seats. You come to the counter, order pie. You can order anything that we do now, just on a smaller, more manageable basis. And we're able to, it's crazy. Restaurant business right now, it's like insane between labor shortages, food costs, and all this, and, the pandemic and variants and all that. So yeah, it's never a dull moment.
That's kind of the beauty about being a seasoned entrepreneur and a restaurant owner. It's like you can pivot and change. And if something didn't work, I can see you pivoting back to something else. And I think that's being versatile and agile in business is important. And having that foundation and having the history that you have in the restaurant business, I can only imagine, success is gonna always follow everything you do. So I think that's great. The thing that we were talking about before we went, technically live, or we're not live, but when we started filming, was talking about, per capita, I always joke about Bethel maybe being the pizza capital of the world. And probably there's areas maybe with more, but I feel like we have a lot of pizza places. And it rings back to what my grandfather used to tell me. He used to tell me he loved competition. And I kind of always grew up thinking that way too. And some people are scared of competition and, there's a lot of pizza places. Why would I open one? And in the case of our town, there's a lot of successful pizza shops. I don't know that there's any as successful as yours or that have been around as long as you have. But what's your view on the competition? Do you think that's something that's kept you guys moving forward and evolving and being successful, or you think it's irrelevant, or what's your position on that?
Yeah, I actually agree with your grandfather 110%. Like it keeps you on the ball. You could say, like, I've been doing the same thing for 25 years. My parents 40 years plus years. You could just get stuck in your own ways and just be happy. Just, I don't know. With me, I get bored easily. And I'm just always looking to improve. I literally went into work every day for 4 podcasts and Gary Vee and all these guys telling you, like, you got to hustle hard and all that. I don't know. I've always had this mindset just to be the best. It's like sports, like competition. Like, I don't know. I get off on it. Like, it's like, you always want to improve. So I went into work every day, like, no matter how stupid it was, can I, like, make my salads a little fluffier? Can I, get a better cost on this paper bag? But after 15 years, it just got to me. So now I just, I don't look over my shoulder. I don't care who opens. Everyone comes in. It's like, oh, did you hear this guy's opening down the street? I'm like, that's great. I'm like, we don't live in Russia. You could do whatever you want. It's free capitals. I'm like, it's, if someone wants to come and open another place, good for them. I'm happy for them. I wish them best of luck. Like, I really would never wish ill will towards any of my competition. Like, if I see them around town, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Wing prices, this sucks. Like, so like, it's a thing where if you just, focus on what you do, because that's all you can control, so why am I even going to waste an ounce of energy on this guy and that guy, no matter how many guys there are, and frankly, competition, means that there's a market for that product out there. Obviously there hits a saturation point, and, but I'm a firm believer that the market will resolve itself. If there's too many places, then the market will tell you that some of these places have to go. And some, I just feel like sometimes people see success, and what is success, how many cars are there, how many delivery cars are running around town, and they think it can be achieved easily. And I know, like, not that I'm smarter, not that better, I just know I'll outwork you at the end of the day. And still, I'm 48 years old. I feel like I'm 28. And whether it's a basketball court or a soccer field, like, it's funny, like, and, my parents, I got to thank them. Like, they instilled this freaking warped mentality in me from a kid that you're the best and it doesn't matter who you're up against, but you have the tools to beat them. You just got to put in the work. So I've taken that into business and into life. Like, that's why I stopped playing basketball and all that, because I wasn't very good. But meanwhile, I try to, after a third time, I tore my meniscus or something. I was waiting for the big energy. I'm like, I got to stop, because everyone says, oh, well, when you're at old, you're in the 40 over league, you got to just take it easy and shoot from the outside and I drive to the hoop. And I'm trying to we're talking about John Starks. I have that John Starks mentality, number 3. So I have that same mentality in business. It's not that I'm trying to beat the guy down the street. It's just I'm trying to be the best that I could be. And, that's what I try and instill my kids. It's really, it's tough, you know. I raised, and you know, you have kids, and you know, I don't know if the participation trophy era is still a thing, but
I heard you got athletes in your family. That's what I'm hearing.
oh, you know what? It's sports is always like a big thing. Like if you ask my kids, they'll be like my dad, like I'm like that commercial where the Dikembe Mutombo is like swatting balls when they're 4 years old. My wife will be like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? They're little girls." And I don't know. I don't know if it's the Eagles fan in me or whatever. It's my dad. Like my dad was super competitive.
It's kind of like it's showing your kids that life is not easy.
Exactly.
It's a very easy thing to do. It's just like you can raise them and love them and teach them everything, the right things to do. But you know what? Life's going to smack you down sometimes.
Which I do. Like, and that's the thing. You need both the balance, you know. It can't just be roses, and, you know, you need to, you know, learn to, you know, lose once in a while.
Absolutely.
So even though my daughter was like a really fast runner, you know, I would be like, all right, 50-yard dash. And I'd have my daughter, like, this is how demented I am. I'd have my other daughter film it from the window so she wouldn't see. And I had on video that I beat you in a race. Like, you know, granted, it was only from here to there, but like, you know, she would kill me in a mile. Like, but it's just, you know, sports is fun. It gets them, you know, away from technology and stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean,
Steve and I have
love
talked
it.
about that a lot too. It's like the kids growing up. I don't know how old your daughters are, but I'm assuming they're not too old yet. It's like keep them busy, get them off the phone, get them off the couch, and sports has always been that thing since, you know, since as far as we can remember, to keep them busy, keep them involved. It teaches them so much.
Absolutely.
It helps when they're good at it too, so they don't want to, you know, stop too quickly or get.
Well, you'll find out, like, for 10 years, I used to coach them. I coached them all through in-town soccer, travel soccer. You know, I helped out as much as I can, manage it. It was such a big part of our life. My kids, I have one in college, one going to college, and one's a freshman. So they're a little older. And now sports are less important. It's more about, like, my daughter she was a converted soccer player, started playing in basketball, and then she went to running. And she really enjoyed it, but she was also like a student, you know, and it's really demanding. Like school is so different. You'll find out, like, not to be like the old guy in the room, but it's, I've learned a lot, and, you know, they have other passions, you know, thankfully, you know, credit to my wife, you know, she's a teacher, and as much as she's a reading specialist to be specific, and it's just ironic that we're such a yin and yang. Like she will read like in such excess, and meanwhile I do not have the patience to read. Like I cannot tell you the last book I read. I'm not proud of it. It's not my thing. Like podcasts I can absorb like crazy. So we're just different in that respect, but they luckily took from her habits. They're avid readers and writers. Like my oldest daughter's at Syracuse, she's studying journalism. My second daughter is now applying to colleges. She wants to study her passion, which went from sports to art, and she's good at school. So architecture is what she hopes to study. And then my youngest will figure it out too. Yeah. So it's exciting. But it's nice to, you know, it started off all sports, but as they get older, you'll see them evolve and find, you know, obviously the chance of becoming a professional athlete are so slim that, you know, I think sooner or later they realize, okay, well, I can't be like Mia Hamm, you know, at the World Cup and all that.
Yeah, once you get away from all the crazy parents and like we were talking about the participation trophies, it's like it's exactly what every kid should do. You learn everything from it.
Yeah, but even if they're good enough to become professional athletes, let's say, even the professional athletes at some point need to transition into, you know, the next phase of their lives. But I do think that it's invaluable what they learn in sports. So, you know, and they can certainly learn in other areas if they're part of, you know, a band or art or getting involved in other things where, you know, kind of a microcosm of life where they can learn to have successes, failures, you know, try to figure things out. But it's funny when you were saying the yin and the yang, it reminds me of how kind of my house is. I approach from a different perspective and my wife approaches from another. And I'm probably as competitive as you are. And I think it's important for them to see these things, to see as much as they can and to be exposed to different personalities, but really struggling through, I think is the biggest thing, because in life, one thing we know is we're going to meet obstacles and we're going to have to work our way through them. I think that's why, like I said, the European mentality of, working hard, having the confidence to know that no matter what, as long as you work hard, you can achieve your goals. I think that's an important thing to instill in them, because I same thing. My father taught me the same thing. And how could they not have that faith and hope in their own kids? Because I don't know your father's story, and maybe we should have him on to share it. I certainly
he would be an interesting guest, to say the least.
I definitely want to have my dad on, because it's like, here are people that came. My father came from nothing. I mean, nothing. I'd like to just explain like how he grew up. It's like people nowadays can't even fathom that. Like no running water, no electricity, water, like rain, water coming into your house. To go across a body of water into a new world, you don't know the language, and then to create a life where his son went to law school and he got married, and he had a successful life by every measure. He had a successful life all through hard work and had no head start. I had the fruits of his labor just like you did. I was going to get into this. It's like you have my respect and admiration. What you've done with that business is unbelievable. But just like me, we had that head start. Our parents gave us this opportunity, this vision that we could, further. I've seen plenty of people being given gifts and they do nothing with it and destroy it all. So, kudos to us to have an opportunity and to make the best of it. But can you imagine, guys like your dad and my dad, like where they came from and where they are, to me is just, I only have to look at that. Like, I'm sure it gets you up every day. It's like, I'm going to complain about working 8, 9, 10 hours in a day. I can't do that.
Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. I always say that about my dad and my mom too. My mom is just the quiet one, but she's the glue that holds everything together. And she came from, I'll never forget, I went to Greece. I took the taxi to the bus to the village, and she had the only phone in the village. So like people would call from America back then, they would like get a loudspeaker somehow, and you'd come running at like 2 a.m. to like take a call. But like, I'm like, okay, I wake up the next day, I'm like, where's the shower? And she's like, oh, come downstairs. And there was like a, one of those like plastic keg things, they used to feed the donkeys or something. And she's pouring a cold hose over my head. I'm like, are you serious? Like, but yeah, it's, like we're so, I don't know. So I was telling you how like I feel like this is my dream. Like I was always wanted to be like a sports talk radio host, and I have this mic here. So I used to listen to Mike and the Mad Dog, and one time I was listening. Don't worry, I know I talk a lot, but there's a reason I'm coming full circle on this. I'll bring the Boa Life theme into this story, I promise. So they had John McEnroe on, and John McEnroe at the time, John McEnroe, fuck this, fuck that. So am I allowed to swear? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
So anyways, he's on and he's all fired up, and they're like, hey, John, your son is an up-and-coming tennis player, I guess, at the time. They're like, do you ever think he'll be as good as you? Talking about our kids and how we had we had the foundation and we were lucky. And he responded back like instantly. He's like, no, he'll never be as good as me. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's rough. And they're like, okay, can you elaborate? And he's like, crown molding. And he's like, okay. He's like, dude, I made it to where I am today because I had this fire in my belly because I didn't have shit. I guess he can't, I don't know his whole story, but I just remember this interview. It's like, I'll never forget it. And I tell people this story all the time just to put things in perspective. He's like, he'll never be as good as me because I've reached a point in my life where I've provided him a decorative piece of wood in the corner to hide the cracks. He doesn't have that fire that I had. He's got everything given to him, and they're like, well, he's probably a better athlete than I am, but he doesn't have that mentality. And that's what, with business, people just see the fruits of your labor. They don't see, it's like an iceberg. I saw one of those like memes or something. They're like, success. the peak, the pinnacle in the water, but it shows,
Huge.
you know, all the foundation that had to be built on that. Like I tell people all the time, when we moved to Bethel, right, so we had a house in Watertown, all that. And then
You didn't even know you moved.
We're in a duplex. You know, it was just a big change to me. And we had I call it the Willy Wonka years when we first opened in 82. It was and I'm in 8th grade, 7th grade. My brother's in 6th grade. My sister's in 5th grade. My parents' bedroom was a closet. It was so small. They called it a 2-bedroom, but it had the 3 of us all in middle school age and my grandparents. So it was literally a bunk bed and then 3 beds and a dresser. You had to climb over everything to get to everywhere. And that's how we started. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I think it's important that people realize like it was a struggle in the beginning. It wasn't all like, but that I don't regret that. Like I love that I came from that upbringing because that's what made me who I am. I wanted a lawn. That's all I wanted. Like my wife's like, why do you spend your day off like on your freaking lawn? And all that? I'm like picking weeds one by one. And I'm like, because I never had one. Like my dad was always at work, so I had to take care of the grass. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just like, and then I'm driving, going to my friends' houses, and I'm like looking. And it's not a money thing, right? It's just like you want to feel like you belong. And so for me, that was really something that I always think, like in terms of my kids, like, the good thing is that it's not just a matter of like manual labor. Like there's a lot of different ways to be successful, right? So I look at the work they put in on their schoolwork. Like they're up to like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. They're doing projects. Like I didn't do homework. Like I literally did not do homework. Like, and I still made National Honor Society. Like I listened, I paid attention in class. Like I always, it was like, if I'm going to be here, I might as well make the best of it. But like outside of school, like, we rode our bikes all day. We hung out. We didn't do it's a different day and age. So I'm just hopeful that the work they put in is in that way, not necessarily in working in the restaurant. There's other ways to be successful. So, you can only do the best you can, lead by example, and hopefully your kids will, follow your lead and maybe take it to the next level. That's, I guess, what every parent hopes for. So
yeah, we talk about that, trying to be good role models, showing them the way. And then you got to balance, motivating them and making sure they put into action what they want to do. And then there's the worry that maybe because you've worked so hard and you have the means to maybe spoil them, that you're not doing too much of that. So as a parent, it's hard because, you look back in your childhood, and I look back at my childhood and I loved it. Like we didn't have a lot of money, and, I've obviously had the tragedy of losing my mother, but before she passed, I look back and I'm like, I was the luckiest guy in the world. And none of it was because of having a lot of money. My mother was a teacher. My father was a guidance counselor at Henry Abbott Tech. We'd spend a lot of time together, and that's kind of the things I want to spoil my family with as much as I can. My love, being around, even though it's hard these days because of work and we got to provide. But it's a tough balance, right? To make sure you're doing all the right things, just like it is in business. What do you do to try to be as balanced as you can? Because you obviously put in a lot of time. I know you're putting in a lot of time now because it necessitates it with the change, but how do you make time? Is it like coming here, like you just come, or how do you make time for the family, make sure you're doing enough with the kids? I know you obviously did the coaching and all that, so thank God you did all that. I mean, you're not going to regret doing that stuff. But. Yeah,
absolutely. The coaching was something that was really important, especially when they're young. That's when they're, very impressionable, and, the kids remember, So I remember my dad only went to one game, like all through all my, and I played travel and all that. And that's a funny story. I'll save it for him when he comes on. Make sure you ask him about the one time he showed up at my game. He said, "Don't listen to the coach." Screamed it from the sideline. Can you imagine, in today's silent sideline era,
that's my dad, dude.
But back to the original question, I should say.
Finding the balance to
the balance. All right, sorry.
No,
so I'm like you. I'm in a million different places.
Yeah.
So. finding the balance, like it's kind of like an oxymoron, right? I'm here with you now and I'm not with my family. Like that's kind of fucked up, you know? Like my wife's like, oh wait, so you came home last night at 2 a.m., woke me up, dogs are barking, and now you're going to a podcast? She's like, you just need the look that she gave me. She's like, are you fucking serious? Like, and I'm like, oh, well, it's for Famous Pizza, you know? It's all cool. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Just like... Shout out to her. She's so supportive. Like she knows, she's like, I can't wait till this is over. Then I can, you know, get somewhat of a normal life back because it's been a little nuts. But with the kids, what we did, and it's not nearly enough, but it is, you know, we are in business. But like people, you know how many like comments I get when people find out we're closed on Sundays? They're like, what? Like pizza, football, Sundays? Like you're insane. Like it would be our third busiest day of the week. No questions asked. So how that came about was when my wife and I got married. My wife's Puerto Rican, I'm Greek. Our kids are Greek-Ricans, Puerto Ricans, 100% for 50-50.
Never heard that. I love it.
Yeah. So we got married in the Greek church, and Father Peter and Danbury, he sat us down. He's like, all right, so you work in the restaurant 7 days a week. You're a teacher Monday through Fridays. You know, how is this going to work? Like, what do you guys, and we like sat there kind of like, and he told us the story of another family in our parish that were successful in the restaurant business. And he said, they close Sundays. He's like, why don't you give it a shot? What do you got to lose? You know, obviously he was thinking from the terms of, you know, Chick-fil-A and all that, spiritual, you know, it's a day of rest, you know, but that is our day. I mean, that is the day. Like, yeah, I'll mow my grass and all that. I'll watch some football during football season. But it's really the day for us just to, like, you know, be home, be together. And I savor that. Like, we don't have to do anything. Like, literally just, you know, my daughters are hilarious, like, crack me up. And, you know, it's just, you really need that. You know, the business cannot dictate everything. I lost a lot, like, you know, but the way my family handled it when I grew up in the business was they would close for a month. They would work 7 days and we'd close all of August or July, and we'd go to Greece, you know. And
now you just do 2 weeks in July, or one is it?
Now
we
just do 1 week.
1 week.
Yeah, and it's not. But I'm gonna throw a curveball for you. You know, might not be happy with me this July. I haven't been back to Greece since I took over in '97, so it's been over 30 years. And my family, my kids, they just, I'm really, you know, proud of my heritage. I want them to be proud of all their heritage, you know, but I need to show them, you know, my experience with my, you know, home country, and I'm really proud of that fact. So I would love to bring them back this summer. That's the goal, but we'll see.
I haven't said this yet, but I'm gonna say it's funny that you say that. Right? I'm cognizant of saying that, and I want to.
It's gonna be a hashtag. I gotta
funny
make
that
you a
you say
T-shirt.
that because, first of all, if you close for 2 weeks, I won't be mad. I'll be upset that I can't have. Even if it's 3 weeks, I'd be upset I couldn't have your pizza for 3 weeks. But I'd be happy that you're with your family doing your thing because I think that's important. And I'm glad that Father Peter encouraged you and that you were smart enough to follow his lead on that because. Yeah, it was probably a bad business move, and maybe it wasn't. But what you maybe lost in business, imagine what you gained, and just the quality of life with your family. I'm at the crossroads now with that because, like you, the pandemic spiraled my business out of control, where it's the busiest I ever have been. Knock on wood for a year and a half, 2 years. And while I'm grateful and thankful for all of that, it has created an issue where I haven't been able to be with my family as much as I want. During the heat of the pandemic, it really didn't matter because when I got home, they were there. It's not like we were missing out, but now that's changing. But when you say that, I think Nick probably would want to do the same thing. His wife is my culture, like going back to Portugal, and I've been doing this, and we have to stop saying we want and just do it.
Exactly.
Because, you want, you should, you shouldn't, before you know it, you're dead,
Yep.
So when you're saying that, I'm like, it just hit me in the face. Like, you know what? Not only should Perry do that, but wake up.
If I inspired you to do that, I'd be very happy because people have been telling me that just do it, just close. I mean, obviously I have employees to worry about and this and that. They rely on me. So it's not an easy decision, but it's a decision that
I'll go run the place for a week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll be down there all summer.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do.
But you'd be surprised, like you said, you'd be disappointed, but you'd be happy. So when we closed on Sundays, there was a while when like 5 places opened the one week and we're like, oh my God, And we like opened for like 2 Sundays, like back by popular demand. We made it sound like, it's cool, it's great. And meanwhile, we hate it. And people came in and they were pissed. They're like, why are you open? She's like, I want you to close. Like we got so much feedback, and we just stood there like, oh my God, never in a million years would we think that. But people, I think, respect it. They're like, look, these people. Look, you're gonna have those Karens that come in, and then they're gonna be like, I used to have a voicemail. It's hilarious. You should hear. I love it. Who the fuck are you to close on Sundays? You. And so I stopped allowing people to leave messages, even though they were hilarious. But I think at the end of the day, any reasonable person knows that you should spend some time with your family. And if you don't, then they're probably not, going to realize that you're not such a great person, if you're just in it for the money and all that. So like you said, it's all about balance. And, we're still trying to figure it out. Like you said, we don't have it all, it's constant. Tony, I can't say enough for my brother-in-law, Tony. He's my right-hand man. He's my partner. And luckily, we share the same values. Yeah. So, we're what do you call it? A combo. It's both of us or nothing. It's all or nothing. Like on a Monday night, I might leave on a Tuesday night, which we haven't done in a long time with everything going on. But other than that, we're there. We are there. I think the people want to see us there. So if we're not there, they'd rather we could just get. But you can't pay a 16-year-old kid minimum wage and expect them to treat your customers the right way. So at the end of the day, just.
I don't know what it is about businesses, especially when it has to do with the service industry, that I don't know what it is about wanting to see the owner there, and I don't know what it is. There's something there though. When you're at a restaurant and you're engaging with the owner, there's something that wants you to go back there. It's like family. It's like, I'm going to go see Perry, pick up a pizza. I could go to 7 other different places.
Yeah, your kids know my name.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You go to them hey, there's Perry. It's that trust factor. It's not just the guy. It's not nothing against Domino's or whatever. It's it's a person. You're not just a number, and you see that, if you buy from, and it's funny because up until the pandemic, we did the first grade field trips. So every first grader, I don't know if you know, next to the Bethel public school system, I got this great idea that they would come in, all expense paid. I'd bring in the whole first grade. It was a lot of work.
Every school.
Don't get me wrong. Every school in Bethel, every public school in Bethel, the whole first grade every year for 15 years. We brought them in, gave them aprons with Famous Pizza on. They still have them and we teach them. So we need to bring the curriculum involved. So I pitched it to the school system and about community and all that, how you, not just pizza places, but how it works. Your parents work and they're hungry, they order pizza, but you're supporting not only me, you're supporting my family, and then I'll go to the bakery and I'll buy a cake and I'm supporting their family. So we kind of do a quick little lesson. We teach them a little pizza math when we cut. It's a lot of fun. They get to make their own pizza, so they work in Pizza Partners. It was really cute. I really miss it, and I'm going to figure out a way to bring it back. But that's one of our major projects we did for a long time. Every kid looked forward to it. It was like the field trip.
All right, here we are, post-review, post-podcast. Thank you again for having us on scene. This is great. Aside from the only time when we leave our studio, I feel like it's raining all the time. But I wanted to present, look at this thing, custom. That's how we roll here at Famous. Not a generic box. It's a custom box. All right? Now to me, that's important. Look at that.
Love it.
It's be proud.
Exactly.
So I love the box. Thanks for bringing that out. I thought it was important to share with the audience. And thank you again for having us here. Like I said, at this beautiful establishment. It's transformed over the years. Here you are in a new setting. How are you feeling about that?
Love it. I love it. 25 years, you're staring at the same walls, I needed something to get invigorated, I just kind of got burnt out, this business just spits you out and chews you up and throws you out, spits you out, and that's why, you see these older generation just not taking pride. And I wanted something, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and build the best fucking pizzeria I could possibly do. And I hope that, so far people have said really good things, but I want to be proud, where I'm at. If this is my face, my name, people associate, okay, it's not my name, but Famous Pizza, they associate my family. So things that we talked about in the pod, just being proud of who you are, where you came from, and what you're putting out, and all these changes, whether it's cosmetically in the place or in the product, it's just, pushing ourselves to just be the best that we could be. The same thing that we're teaching our kids, and, so this was the culmination of a lot of hard work, and we're really happy with it. We're still tweaking stuff, but for the most part, we just want to go running now.
Yeah, and you've been doing this a long time, so you can, you can ebbs and flows, you can change it up, you're going to be prepared to do that. The other day, my kid came home with the apron. So you're back at it again. My wife was here at a field trip with my son, first grade, Berry School. I drove by here, gave you guys a shout out. Now I'm sitting here, I'm able to, see out there at PT Barnum Square, Memorial Day weekend, American flags out. I mean, you're a big part of this community. You're bringing the community back in, obviously from a business standpoint, but you're back at it with the school stuff. So, I mean, how was that?
I mean, we lost a couple of years with COVID, and I'll be honest, I didn't think it was going to happen this year. I actually called the schools. I reached out to them and said, hey, things look like they're getting back to normal. Let's set it up, thinking for next year. And they literally said, oh, we'll be there next week. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Sounds like a plan. And I go to Tony, and Tony's like, but we get it, that we wanted to do it. We're so happy that they kind of pushed us into doing it. And I get it, you got the kids cooped up all year long. This was their field trip. Why lose another year? We already lost 2. So it was great to have the kids in here. And I'll tell you what, I was kind of worried with the smaller spot. We had to change the format, but we did one class at a time, and it was awesome. It was like we really got to, get personal with the kids and take the time and show them. And it was really quick. We brought them in early. And so we came in early every day for a week. So, and there's a financial commitment. They don't pay for anything. The aprons, they take home with them, the pizzas and all that, but it's worth its weight in gold. These are memories that these kids are going to have. College kids come back and they tell us, hey, where's our pictures? We got to figure out where we're going to hang those. It's a smaller space, but we're really happy to do it. We're glad that we're going to keep that tradition alive.
Yeah, you guys really do something special, especially with the community and kids in general. Like seeing your posts, seeing the smiles on their faces when they get to be in here and do all that fun stuff with you guys. How long ago did you guys start that?
So we probably started about 20 years ago, give or take, 15, 20 years ago. I don't know the exact time. I know my daughter's already graduated. I remember we did a couple classes before her. So it's like the annual first grade field trip. Every public school in Bethel, we bring all the kids through, at least 200 or so. They make their own pizza. They learn about the community. It's a really fun time, and we're just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, you definitely got something to be proud of, not only with the community and the children in general, but, personally, you helped me out with a lot of stuff. As people who watch this and listen to this podcast know, the challenge that I do for my daughter, I've done a couple years in a row now. You were not hesitant at all to step up once Steve and I reached out and asked you to be a part to generously host a plethora of Portuguese people.
No, it was great because you guys were one of the first groups that we brought, larger group. Because at that time, COVID was just kind of ending, and everyone's kind of hesitant. But it gave us kind of. I'm like, all right, let's test it out. I mean, of course, I just met you, but I'm like, what is a better cause than helping out your family? This beautiful little girls. So it was great to see such a close family all together, and that's what we're all about. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, honestly, we never say no. Whether it's a gift card for a local organization. I mean, obviously there is a limit, but whatever we can do, we will do because we remember where we came from. And I don't want to make it like everyone's like, oh, Famous is so great, they do this. But I got to say thank you to my customers because if I don't get the support from them, how can I support, it goes round, so they allow us to give back to the community. So, and that's what it's all about. You know, we're in a small town, and you know, and the other thing I should mention is, you know, so it's not only like monetary support, but the support we get at home. I really got to give a shout out to my wife, Nadine. You know, she allows me to focus on my baby here so she can raise our babies there, you know, and, you know, I can't say enough for both my sister, who's Tony's, you know, wife. You know, they pretty much allow us to, you know, do what we got to do here at all the crazy hours that need be, at the sacrifice of them and helping them. You know, obviously we try to be involved as often as we can. You know, you guys know, you know, you want to be, you know, a part of your kids' lives as much as you can, but sometimes the business prohibits you from doing that. So we really just want to acknowledge, you know, what they do that allows us to do what we do.
Yeah, it's all about teamwork, and you know, that's kind of how you live your life. How we're trying to live our lives is, you know, community-based, teamwork, you know, finding good partnerships, whether it's our families, our wives, and you can do a lot more together than you can do separate. And I love how you talk about, you know, your customers. You're right. It's like a loop, right? A positive loop where they help you and you help them, and a lot of the reasons outside of the pizza being fantastic, a lot of the reasons I come here is because of the relationship I have with you, the relationship you have with the community, and I want to support that, and I want to help that grow, just like I hope people want to make our channel grow, my business grow. You know, it's you give a little and you get a little, and I think that's what's important. And that's kind of the reoccurring theme that we're hearing in, you know, the Bowl Life podcast is, you know, hard work, looking out for others, others looking out for you, learning from others, and again, trying to make, you know, your family grow, right? Try to create relationships and have a community, and how you do that is you encourage that, you nurture that, you support that, and I love this community. I grew up in it. I've known you since I was a kid. Your father and your family, and your business has flourished, I think, for hard work and for quality product, of course, right? But again, for that stamp that you put on this community. I mean, who doesn't know Famous Pizza for the baseball caps? I see my son come home with the apron, like I said, and he wanted to be a part of this. Dad, are you going to go do the just one bite review? He goes, and then you take like 5 bites? Like, why do you say it's one bite?
Right.
But then I see him play baseball, and my son, and I see the kids with the Famous baseball cap, because you support, you know, athletics in the community. You used to have in the old place all the, you know, baseball teams and the trophies. So, you know, giving to the community and getting back, I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's what we're trying to promote in our channel is, you know, ways to live a successful life, successful business, family, all that is the same. It's, you know, putting in and getting and reciprocation. So thank you so much for all you've done for us and allowing us here and being on our podcast, and what you've done for our greater community, for him and his race. Again, I think this is a partnership for life in many, many different ways, and how we can help each other and encourage others to do the same for themselves. So thank you so much for being a part of this channel, part of this show, and a part of the community.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, really. This is great, chopping it up with you. Podcast is like my third one, but I feel like every time it gets a little better, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And you know, at the end of the day, right, it's just common sense. You know, we're not going to sit here and look like we have it all figured out, right? But you know, we've talked about it over and over again, and you just practice. It's easy to talk about it. It's hard to actually do it. And do it so you could do it, but do it and keep doing it, you know? So that's why I tell people, they're like, what's your secret, you know, 40 years and all that. It's just like, wait, you know, a lot of people could do it, but you do it for 40 years. That's, you know.
That's consistency, folks.
Consistency, stay in the course. That's what it's all about. Like coming here. It rained, we could easily say, yeah, maybe we'll do it another time. But yeah, some of it's just showing up and following through. But I mean, these good habits that you've created and that have gotten you where you are probably going to continue. So to future success, thank you. I think maybe we can take a tour of the place.
Yeah, come on in. Love to show you. Hey guys, welcome to Famous Pizza. My name is Perry, and today we're doing our MTV Cribs version of the Boa Life podcast. Check out my restaurant. So this is our new place right here. We have put in this really cool window that slides open on nice days. We have a bar on each side. A lot of the local Kids like to hang out here after school. We like to think of ourselves as the Bethel Peach Pit of sorts. We do have, the big misnomer is with the new store, we don't have dining area, which we do. It's just smaller. We don't seat 150 people like we did, but we wanted to do a cool slice shop, industrial type motif kind of place. We have our menus up here. We have this really cool slice case right here. So throughout the day, if you just want to come in, grab a slice, we usually have a nice assortment. But you can just order anything off the menu, just like we did at the old place. Just we can't seat a whole bunch of people. But we just wanted a casual, comfortable vibe where a family could come in and just grab something to eat at a reasonable price, a reasonable amount of time. So come follow me into the kitchen over here. This is our pickup area. You hear the phone ringing. We are in the middle of our Saturday afternoon, which is typically kind of quiet, but it's raining, so we have some deliveries. So this is the non-pizza side of things. So you see we got a bunch of orders that we're working on right now.
We got 25s coming in, 25s coming in.
So we got some stuff cooking over here. We have a prep area. This is where we have all our refrigeration. We took a lot of care into just making sure we have a clean, safe environment. And this side's pretty much our pizza area. So we have our mixer, flour bags. We do our fresh dough daily, our recipe over here. We have our dough that we actually let sleep overnight, and that's where we store it. So this is the dough we made yesterday. Fermentation is a thing that we've really looked into a lot to make it easily digestible. And then this is our pizza area. So we have our sauce right here that we're gonna toss the pies. We're gonna sauce them, load them up, and put them in the oven. So that's a little sneak peek into our kitchen. We have a pizza. Wait up, Greg. Got a pizza that we just came out of the oven. We're gonna box it up. A little live shot right there. And there you go. That's pretty much it. So thanks for coming.